Austin, Sunday. The checkered flag falls on what looks like another predictable afternoon. Verstappen leads, Leclerc fights, Norris chases, Hamilton fourth. On paper, it's just another result, another race, another day in the Ferrari garage. But inside Maranello, something broke. Not the engine, not the strategy, something deeper. Because P4 wasn't a failure, it was a message. And the silence that followed, louder than any victory cheer. Here's the question nobody's asking. What happens when the most decorated driver in F1 history stops arguing and starts teaching? And more importantly, what happens when Ferrari realizes they're no longer in control? Lewis Hamilton's tone after Austin wasn't angry. It was surgical, detached. The car just faded. There was nothing left, calm words. But inside Ferrari's walls, they landed like a verdict. Because Hamilton had spent 56 laps watching Red Bull and McLaren execute perfection while Ferrari hesitated, improvised, and fell back into old patterns. The habits they swore they'd buried. Halfway through the race, Hamilton went silent on the radio. No complaints, no frustration, just silence. And in Formula One, silence is never empty. It's observational. He wasn't giving up. He was studying. Every lap he'd asked for information, gaps, strategy, tire life. But the responses came a heartbeat too late. And in this sport, one heartbeat decides everything. When he crossed the line in P4, he didn't slam the steering wheel. He just said quietly, "We could have done more." To the world, it sounded calm. To Ferrari, it was a reckoning. But that was just the start. Because what happened next changed everything. While the crowd roared and the podium celebrated, Hamilton stayed behind in the garage. He didn't storm out. He didn't argue with engineers. He opened the telemetry. Lap by lap, he traced every detail. Throttle input, brake temperature, tire degradation. The numbers told the same story his instincts already knew. Ferrari's pace didn't collapse because of the car. It collapsed because of the calls. The softs ran too long. The mediums came too late. DRS windows were missed. Fuel targets adjusted mid-stint. Each small hesitation cost fractions that became seconds. And seconds in F1 are lifetimes. Hamilton marked the data silently, creating a pattern. He wasn't collecting statistics. He was building a case. Because Hamilton doesn't fight his wars through interviews. He fights them through evidence. And this is where the story gets dark. Monday morning. Maranello. The debrief room was unusually tense, not because of what Hamilton might say, but because of what he wouldn't. He entered quietly, carrying the race report under his arm. No entourage, no theatrics, just data. When the screens lit up, Hamilton didn't start with blame. He started with patterns. He showed how Ferrari loses time not in speed, but in hesitation. 3 pit calls that came seconds too late. 2 communication gaps between engineer and driver. 1 decision that turned a possible podium into P4. Nobody interrupted him. Not even Vasseur. Then came the line that changed everything. You can't win with fear of being wrong. For a team buried under years of politics and legacy, that sentence hit like a sledgehammer. Because in that moment, it wasn't Hamilton, the driver, speaking. It was Hamilton, the architect. He hadn't joined Ferrari to adapt. He joined to teach. And whether Maranello was ready or not, a cultural shift had just begun. Charles Leclerc sat 3 seats away during that meeting. Silent, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the screen. He wasn't angry. He was uneasy. Because what Hamilton was saying was what Leclerc had been feeling for years. But Hamilton wasn't complaining. He was solving. And that difference drew a line between them. Leclerc has always been Ferrari's emotional compass, the loyal heart of Maranello. But Hamilton? He's the strategist. He doesn't race with passion. He races with precision. After the meeting, whispers spread across the factory floor. Did you see how he spoke to Vasseur? Leclerc never does that. It wasn't arrogance. It was leadership, the kind Ferrari hadn't seen since Schumacher. Even Riccardo Adami, Leclerc's race engineer, began making quiet adjustments. Faster updates, sharper calls, fewer explanations. He realized Hamilton doesn't want reassurance. He wants accuracy. And in that realization, something unprecedented happened. Ferrari's engineers started quoting Hamilton's debriefs. Strategists replayed his feedback. Those who doubted him began to align, not out of fear, but clarity. Because Hamilton doesn't command with ego. He commands with evidence. This wasn't just about one race. It was about who controls the narrative inside Ferrari's walls. And slowly, unmistakably, the gravitational center of the team was shifting. So here's where this goes. Scenario 1. Hamilton's philosophy takes root, and Ferrari transforms into a ruthlessly efficient championship machine, the kind that doesn't celebrate personality, but precision. Leclerc adapts or gets left behind. Scenario 2. The old guard pushes back. Ferrari chooses loyalty over logic. Hamilton becomes isolated, brilliant, but blocked, and Maranello repeats the same cycle that's haunted them for years. Scenario 3. Something unexpected happens. Hamilton doesn't just rebuild Ferrari's strategy, he rebuilds Leclerc himself. Teaches him to fight with information, not emotion. And together, they become the partnership Ferrari never knew it needed. But only one of these timelines survives 2026. Has Ferrari finally found the leader they've been searching for since Schumacher? Or is Hamilton's vision too radical for a team built on tradition? And here's the real question nobody's asking yet. What happens when the student stops listening and the teacher stops caring? One thing certain, Austin wasn't about who won. It was about who refused to lose quietly. And that P4 finish, it wasn't the end of Hamilton's story at Ferrari. It was the beginning of his revolution. If you made it this far, you already know. This season's not about who's fastest. It's about who controls the narrative. So tell me, has Lewis Hamilton already won the power struggle inside Ferrari?